Hello, guys. Welcome to another great episode of Globally Connected Group Podcast. Today, we have a special treat for you guys. Another great episode with another great topic. I'm feeling good today. Hope you guys are feeling the same. How about yourself, Gigi? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling great too. Ready for today's episode. Thank you all for joining us today.
All right, that's good. So today we are going to talk about why international business. That is the field that our industry that our business is dedicated towards and centered around. So then we're going to talk about why exactly we picked this industry and what it means to us. So I'll start by basically defining what international business means to me personally. So non-textbook aside, to me, when I think of international business, I just think of doing business internationally and doing business with people from different walks of life who come from backgrounds not similar to what you are accustomed to or the practices that you aren't used to being around and conducting business with. But also I actually define international business as fun. So that's my context personally, is what it means to me. How about you, Gigi? What does international business mean to you?
Yeah, I love your answer by the way, and I like that you added fun to it. That's really cool. For me, similar to Jerome, I see international business as doing business across borders internationally, like expanding your horizons. For me, international business is also fun. I think it opens up new doors. I think it's exciting. So yeah, I would define international business as kind of the act of doing business outside of the country that you are used to operating in or where you have your home operations, but expanding outside.
Yeah. So, for those who may not know, Chad, the textbook definition of international business is it's the exchange of goods, services, technology, capital, and knowledge across national borders. It encompasses all commercial activities that promote the global transfer of goods, services, and values. And international business could take many forms, including import, export, licensing, franchising, direct foreign direct investment, and management of contracts, etc. So, why did we choose international business as an industry that we wanted to work in? So, I say ultimately for me, as I provided in a previous episode, I always wanted to just travel the world and just do business with people who don't look like me. I don't know where that came from. I just guess that was something that was placed upon me as maybe one of my purposes to do in life and experience, which is just coming from a small town just to see the world and actually have fun, but actually, connect with other people and do something monumental related to business. So that's why I chose it, man. I love to travel. I love to meet people different from different backgrounds, because I come from a typical, background, growing up in inner city neighborhood, a small town, rural city, somewhat. So I just always wanted to do something different and think outside of the box. So that's why I chose this path of international business, and so far so good. So, how about you, Gigi? You come from an international background, but I want you to provide your context on why you chose the industry of international business.
Yeah. Yeah, I love your answer. It's like, I love that you mentioned that, it's kind of like something that's always been in you, like part of your purpose. Um, so I think similarly, I've always been really fascinated by different cultures. I moved to the US at a young age, so being exposed to a new culture, and the US is such a melting pot of many different cultures. I always found that very interesting too, to like learn from different people. So I think that's where my initial like interest in quote unquote the globe as a whole
Mm.
started. But as for like career path, it actually started in my undergrad. I was studying computer information systems, and then I decided to add a minor of international business. And then I took a social entrepreneurship class, which Jerome has a background in as well. And social entrepreneurship to me was like super cool. And I love to see that you can do good on a global scale while also making money as an entrepreneur. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you for providing that context. So let me backtrack. I forgot about that. So in undergrad, I switched my majors a couple of times, right? I started off in business management, no, business marketing. Then I switched to business management. Then I switched back to business marketing. But then I transferred from my original school to Georgia State. But at Savannah State, the original school I wanted to go to, I always wanted to do study abroad. Because it's like, man, I want to go out of the country. I've never been out of the country. I just want to see what that is like. So, and I was like, yes, this is my gateway to finally getting out of the country and experiencing the other side of outside of America. I did a couple of study abroads. I did one to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, which was my very first introduction to being out of the country. And it's just like, when you go out that country the first time, it's like, whoa, like this is totally different than what I'm used to. And it's kind of like you on the high, like you don't want this to stop because you meet people from all walks of life. You trying different foods, and you just seeing like a totally different world, like in the life that's actually better outside of America. A lot of countries are still, from my perspective, when it comes to like just the meaning of life, it just I get so much out of that than being in America. So that's when I was like, okay, that's when my like itch of actually wanting to make this a lifestyle started. And then the same year I did another one to South Africa, and that was really the eye opener. Like, okay, I really need to actually make this my lifestyle and actually do something with it because I actually felt very passionate about doing international business and actually just traveling and just connecting with people from all walks of life and just actually helping fill voids for them that a lot of times certain countries don't have the resources and infrastructures to do so. So that's why I chose international business to give some kind of more of context. So thanks for that. Um, so I'll ask, what was the difference between, I guess, you learning about international business educationally, and I want to compare that to now you actually being outside of college or the educational environment, and et cetera, and just doing it on your own. Do you see any differences?
Oh yeah, for sure. I really appreciate the teachers that we had because they took a very hands-on and practical approach as well, rather than just theoretical. Of
Yeah,
course, the theory aspect of things is super important. It's good to know the definitions of things, like understanding the concept of globalization, how the world is becoming more interdependent and interconnected together, how this impacts like technological advancements, emergences of cultures, and like taking on different things from each other. So of course we learned a lot of like the theoretical and quote unquote textbook things, um, and that is very important. But I think something that our teachers did that was really great was they also give us a lot of practical. So we did a lot of like real use case studies. Like we actually worked, especially in our master's program. Like in our master's program, I would say it was very, very hands on.
yeah,
Um, we worked with like actual real companies. I remember the company that my group worked with was in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and they were a VR company, and we helped them come up with an international expansion plan and what they should do. So we were acting kind of as their advisors. And like we would always read up on a lot of case studies of international business, and then we also even had like a simulation in that one class where our we would see the impact of our decision making.
yeah,
So I do appreciate our program. I think it was very unique in that sense. And then now in the real world, I think I was able to learn a lot more about communication and communicating in international business, because the career paths that I've undergone within international business have led me to travel, go to different countries to speak to people. And then there's a lot of those things like that you pick up on, like non-social cues, or sorry, non-verbal cues.
yeah.
Um, so being able to understand on these things, so I think that's where the combination of theory and then life as well, going through life and adapting communication skills over time, and then also practice by going out there in the real world, just like Jerome went to Abu Dhabi, to South Africa, to Senegal. So he's been to many places and been able to learn about the culture and adapt that way. I think very similar for me in international business, and then understanding, like, in practice, what different implications exist, like how somebody approaches international business differently in one way, even things like the way that the structure of time. And then if we get on an even deeper level, is like the process for them to implement a new service or product into their market, what regulatory framework they have to undertake. So a lot of these things I would say come from actually being in it and working like on a project too.
Hmm. That's great perspective. And with you actually having both sides of the spectrum as far as educational environments and also corporate, because when you was getting your master's degree, you was actually working in, if I'm not mistaken, you was working in with a company that had international experience, correct? Or they worked in the industry, right?
Yeah, the company was a global company.
Yeah, so you got a lot of experience very young. So I would ask, did you know you would always be doing international business?
Definitely no. I started college off as a biology major. Did you know that?
No, no, you did not tell me that. So how did, hold on. How did you end up in international business then?
Yeah. So, typical life of an immigrant child is you go into college and you're like, I'm going to be a doctor and make everybody proud. Well, I think for me, I always wanted to help people. And, I kind of had in my mind that I would go out there and be a doctor or go into the medical field because I'd be able to hands on like work with people and help them and help improve their health and such. Um, but like a year or two into college, I just realized that wasn't the path for me. It didn't really resonate anymore. And I've always been super interested in technology and international business. That's really where it started. And then I studied abroad in France, and that was really cool.
Hmm. So we got similar pathways to how we got to international business in a sense. So I want to switch gears and ask, what fascinates you about international business?
Hmm. So many things. I think what really fascinates me about international business is that you can have a product and a service and be completely blind to the fact that there's a huge target audience out there that is not even in your scope. And for me, that's so fascinating about international business because it makes the possibilities kind of endless. Like, for example, if I'm a fashion designer and I have a really cool brand and I'm already selling to my audience, whether, like, say I'm based in Canada, I'm selling to the Canadian audience, I'm very successful, I'm doing great. I'm not even thinking about the fact that, wait, there's a whole globe out there of people who could actually be interested in this too. And then the more you scope out, you also get more ideas for your brand. You also get more inspiration. You get to partner with people and network. So I just think like it really opens up so many doors. And as they say, like the world is your oyster. For me, that's kind of like what defines international business.
Yeah, I'd say for me, what fascinates me about international business is you have to think differently when you are in international business. You can't think ordinarily. You have to think more critically and outside of the box. So like, for example, I'll use our business as an example. We didn't struggle to figure out our business model, but we had to really think deeply about our business model to make sure that not only we understand what we are trying to do with our business, but also people in our target audience understand what it is our business model is trying to do because it's so complex and can be so like vague to the point where people won't understand it. So we've had to restructure and remodel our business model so many times and how we are going to market it. Because you got to remember, we started off in America, but now we operate in like 4 to 5 different markets at the moment. I just think the ability to think critically outside of the box and just constantly keep those wheels turning is what fascinates me the most about international business. Even with helping some of our clients that we helped in the Senegals and some in Southern Africa, it's just the ability that we've had to think three to four different ways at one time just to be able to reach a goal of achieving something that our client wanted to set. That what fascinates me the most about international business.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, of course, there's pros and cons to international business and globalization as well. So, for example, like there's a lot of pros to globalization, like the interconnectedness, us all learning from each other, like technology advancements and such. But then, of course, there's some like for example, there's like a lot of problems with um, people outsourcing certain things for like cheaper labor costs, and then it could actually have a horrible impact on humans and also on the environment. So people have to think deeply about some of these things too and find like the right international strategy for them that's also from a conscious perspective. You don't want to be working in international business just exploiting people to make money. Rather, if there's a way that you can interconnect people together and do like an exchange of resource in a positive way and actually a helpful way too, and giving back, because over consumerism and overproduction someone has to be the one creating this, and sometimes it can be unfair, unjust, like people exploiting like lower cheaper labor costs,
Yeah.
mass produce and things like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, how about you? What is your perspective on this, about some of the cons? What cons do you see in globalization, and what do you think about like kind of, do you see exploitation existing at all in international business or in globalization?
Yeah, I kind of do see it. I haven't firsthand experience it myself either, but just seeing like trends and stuff in the news, I think it happens a lot in the continent of Africa, to be honest, as far as like the natural resources. I think me, you, and Abdul actually talked about it when we were in Senegal, as far as like them coming over and just taking over the natural goods and services that the indigenous people, basically created, etc. But they were stripped of it for just like the profits, but they didn't understand, exactly what that meant at the time. And some of them still don't to this day. I just think that, and also the language barriers. That's actually a good one. The language, the exploitation of the languages in the actual identities of someone's culture. That is happening still to this day, all day long, internationally. So it's not technically business, but if you actually think about it, they use it from a personal aspect to then turn it into business because they profit off of these things. So I think to me that is the biggest one. The exploitations of natural resources, goods and services, and just people culture identity of their original culture.
Yeah, that's a very good one too. Like a good point to bring up is that like people's cultures can be stripped away with globalization too. And now, we're in a world that's super interconnected. And it's crazy. Like when I travel around, I'm always like, wow, we are so similar. Like we're actually all so much more similar than we think that we are, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly. And I realize,
interesting.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's interesting, but when we think about it deeply, sometimes it's sad, like to see how someone's culture can kind of get stripped away from them because of like the trends of modern day.
Yeah. Do you believe this is your life purpose? And what I mean by that is, do you believe you were called to do work such as international business? I will go ahead and start by saying I believe this is one of my life purposes, if not the main one. And I say that because, as I shared with you all, this was placed on me when I was probably the age of 5, 6 years old. I just legit remember being on the street where I grew up and just looking up at the sky and just looking down at the end of the street. And I was like, okay, there has to be a world outside of this. I want to travel and just experience different lives, different cultures, different people, because I didn't know the terminology at the time because I was a kid. But I'm an eclectic type of person, which means, for chat, if you don't know, it's someone who is composed of various sources and who is just very diverse and just have everything within a different source in one person. So I've always been an eclectic person, which is why I'm very fascinated with New York City, because in America, it's the only place that is similar to being eclectic and being it's a melting pot. But I say all that to say I do believe this is one of my life main purposes. And even if money wasn't involved, I would still be doing international business. So that's my perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for me, on if this is my purpose, I'm kind of a person who struggles with the whole like what is your purpose or this is my purpose question. I've always struggled with that. I feel like I'm going to struggle with it for a while. Maybe it'll hit me one day where I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know my purpose." But I don't think I really know my purpose in general in life. I kind of just feel like everything is miktub, it's written. So I'm just kind of going through life in the moment and seeing kind of what comes to me. I
Hmm.
think international business is one of those things that I've like grown into, and over time, like it has shaped me and who I am and my identity. I think, we're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always changing. So I hope I can continue to learn more about international business and have an impact on a global scale on our clients, on people. So, but yeah, I don't know what my purpose is, guys. Chat, anybody else feel like they don't know what their purpose is in this life? Because I think we always like, everyone's always talking about, like, oh, yes, this is my purpose. Like, I know this. Like, my purpose is to be a singer. My purpose is to be a film director. My purpose, but I don't know my purpose, guys. I'm just floating.
No, you're not just floating. Because to be honest, I can't tell you what your purpose in life is, obviously. But when you think about it, like I said, I could still do international business without money being involved, and it bring me
True.
peace, joy, and happiness. So if you think about it from that context, does international business bring you that?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I definitely think international business is a part of my purpose.
So see, you just answered the question there.
But I can't tell you guys for sure with like 100% certainty that I know my purpose, because I swear I hear some people talk about their purpose and they just know it so clearly and it's beautiful. But I think life is so full of like messages and things that you learn over time and that you realize and learn. So I'm constantly finding my purpose and myself.
That's good. That's good. I think it, like I said, I think it found me, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. But what I will, I do want to get I want us to share a perspective on. We both entered international business, or it found us over at least 6 years ago. So I just want to, want us to share our thoughts on from the moment we wanted to pursue stepping into the industry to what we see the industry now. What are our thoughts? So from past to present, what are your thoughts on international business? What was your thoughts back then, where it is, and where do you see it heading? So I'll let you go ahead and get us started with that.
Yeah, that's a great, great, great question, because there's definitely so many changes. So I think one of the things that I've noticed is like international business is exciting because of also the aspect of like traveling to go and meet with clients, to go and work on a project together and such. But I think what I've seen changing in recent years, which I think will continue to as well, is international business now doesn't even have to go, you don't actually have to cross borders to do international business anymore.
Really?
Like,
Well, I know
with
that. Well, I know that. Go ahead.
with like remote work and with computers and with technology, like I can still do international business every day without me necessarily having to leave the country and like go meet a client internationally. Whereas I think back then there was more international travel involved and collaboration in that sense. Now I think there's kind of a switch happening too, where there's a lot that can be done from a remote sense too. So how about you? Like, what have you seen kind of changing over the years?
Yeah, I would say because this was probably like 2016, 2017, maybe. I would say back then there wasn't a lot of people who knew about, at least the circles and the environments and spaces that I was in, who knew about international business and the term globalization. So I want to say now that is much more of, I guess you could call it a trend, but it's much more of a thing. You see a lot of people now who are in America or who are American citizens getting more involved in international business. And COVID actually played a big role in that. But people always like to get into something that's very hot and trendy at the time or whatever the case may be. People like to ride the waves. But That's the main difference that I see. Even when it comes to like the stock markets and like finance industries, you see a lot of them more involved in like markets outside of America, and that is it's finance, but it's still international business at the end of the day. So those are the changes that I see. You see a lot of people actually trying to start businesses in international business now. That wasn't a thing back in 2016, 2017. I never came across people who was talking about starting a business internationally. So that's
Yeah.
those are some of the differences that I see from then up until now.
True. Yeah, that's very true. Another thing, like, I thought about while you were speaking too, is like, with the changes kind of post COVID and also in general since 2016, and like global business becoming more of a trending topic, now I think we have like many forms of payment to allow for international people to like purchase from
Yeah.
you. So I could set up an online store and I don't even need to have operations in a different country. Like I don't have to set up an actual location with my products there to actually sell it there. Like I can just be able to accept international forms of payment on my website, and then I can use like a third party service to like make the shipment over. So yeah, it's truly incredible how easy in a way it is to like go global now. Like there's so many resources available to do that, and like technology and globalization has really helped to be able to do that.
So where do you see international business? I want to say in the next 3 years. Where do you see the industry heading?
That's a great question. I'm curious to know, like, this is just, I'm throwing something out there, but I wonder how drones are going to shape international business. Like, are people going to be shipping things with drones? Is there going to be like faster shipping internationally using like things like that? Um, I'm also curious to see how AI is going to impact international business too, like if it's going to help to find like maybe more feasible ways of doing things in a quicker manner, or finding like the right suppliers for you. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that could happen in 3 years. Like also, we're just all interconnecting more together too. So I think more people are aware of all the different markets that they can reach. Whereas some people might have been a little more closed minded to it, or not thinking that they can reach a market like that, thinking there's so many differences, but there's actually so many similarities. So maybe people's horizons will just keep expanding. But yeah, how about you, Jerome? What do you think? What do you see with international business in the next 3 years or so, or 5 years?
Personally, I see because we are not in the educational environments anymore. I see international business actually bringing educational systems globally together. So, and we already see that. I see education being a big part of international business and just connecting the entire globes together. So you could see New York students or educational institutions having partnerships with schools in Thailand, for example. So I see education being a big part of international business going forward. I also see food actually being a big part of international business as well. Like I think about some of the small market cities that I've been in within the last 1 to 2 years, and you see like a lot of like Asian culture or Asian cuisines and like international cuisine foods in some of these small cities, and they're like, wait, what? So I see education in the food sectors, the two most, the industries being the most impacted by international business and connecting the globe together. That's what I see.
Mhm. Yeah, knowledge and food bringing the world together, literally.
Yeah. Well, all right. As we get ready to close, chat in the comment box. I want you guys to share something that you like about international business, anything that you want to know about international business, or just something that you enjoyed about the episode. And don't
Yeah.
forget to like, subscribe, and you know, we appreciate you again for another episode. But we hope you got something out of this. Hope you learned about international business. It just provides some feedback for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'd be interested to know from you guys, where do you guys see international business in the next 3, 5, 10 years? So feel free to leave comments, give us your ideas, where you think things are going. How do you think tech is impacting things? How do you think the interconnectedness of the world is being impacted? So would love to hear you guys' thoughts as well. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and we're looking forward to another episode with you all.